Would you dare fly on an aircraft whose manufacturer deliberately disabled the fire detection system just to avoid legal trouble? The KLM 787, once hailed as a symbol of modern European aviation for its silence, fuel efficiency, and unrivaled safety, is now at the center of a storm of alarming technical revelations. Fuel leaks dangerously close to high-voltage wiring and fire sensors that were completely shut off. Emergency doors jammed during power loss, and cockpits so cold that pilots began to lose sensation. What once seemed like isolated incidents are now connecting into a chilling pattern. These planes may never have been safe enough to fly in the first place. But the most frightening part isn't the malfunctions themselves, it's where they began. The Boeing production line, the very heart of the 787 Dreamliner, may now be the root of a series of potentially deadly flaws. Today, we'll dissect each detail, expose every decision hidden behind layers of technical documentation, and uncover the truth few dared to say out loud. This is a story that may change the way you see the Boeing 787 forever. Because while the Dreamliner was sold as a dream to passengers, for maintenance engineers it's become a years-long nightmare. The KLM 787 was once hailed as a symbol of modern aviation long-haul aircraft, known for its smooth performance, fuel efficiency, and operation under one of Europe's most reputable airlines. For years, it stood as KLM's pride and the top choice for intercontinental travel. But during what was supposed to be a routine maintenance check, engineers uncovered a string of technical faults so alarming, even the most experienced among them were left stunned. The first red flag appeared in the wing cavity. A faint patch of moisture at the junction between the fuel valve and the pressure distributor dangerously close to a bundle of high-voltage wires powering the aircraft's anti-icing and air conditioning systems. According to one engineer, a single spark in this spot could ignite an uncontrollable fire within the wing structure. What's more alarming, this wasn't an isolated case. Internal reports confirmed that 6 out of 7 KLM 787 aircraft examined showed signs of micro-leakage in that exact location. All had been maintained in strict accordance with Boeing's own technical documentation, meaning the fault wasn't operational but rooted in design, production, or both. And all 6 had already entered commercial service before being grounded. During an inspection triggered by abnormal vibrations detected in a Trent 1000 engine, engineers discovered a slight misalignment in the turbine shaft. The deviation measured just 0.03 seconds, seemingly insignificant. But at rotational speeds exceeding 10,000 RPM, even such a minor offset can cause dangerous imbalance, localized heat buildup, and pose a serious threat to flight safety. What made the discovery even more concerning was that this engine unit had been installed less than 18 months earlier. It showed no signs of wear, had triggered no warnings, and had passed all Boeing certification protocols. This situation strongly echoes the string of issues reported with Trent 1000 engines between 2018 and 2020, which led multiple airlines to ground their 787 fleets. At the time, Boeing assured operators that the problem had been completely resolved. But now the same symptoms are reappearing as if nothing had ever been fixed. On at least 3 flights, smoke detectors in the cargo bay issued repeated false alarms: no smoke, no heat, no fire. Rather than replace the sensors, technicians took a shortcut. They disabled the fire warning system altogether. The aircraft continued to fly as normal. No passengers were informed. No incident was logged in post-flight reports. If a real fire were to break out, there would be no sirens, no alerts, and no time to react. Within 8 minutes, a blaze in the cargo hold could penetrate the cabin floor. This issue isn't unique to KLM. Boeing's smoke detection system on the 787 has long been plagued by false alerts. Airlines like Qatar Airways, LATAM, and ANA requested replacements as early as 2020. Boeing's response? A quiet technical bulletin recall, no mandatory upgrade. They knew the system was flawed. but instead of fixing it, they quietly advised disabling it. In a February 2024 safety drill, engineers discovered that emergency exit door number 3 located mid-fuselage would not fully open when the aircraft lost power. The handle worked. The mechanical lock disengaged, but the door stopped halfway and froze. According to Boeing's design, 787 exit doors use a dual mechanism, electric and manual. In the event of a power loss, the door must open completely using the manual override. But it didn't. There was no warning in the cockpit, no special procedure in the technical manual, just a brief maintenance note: mechanical actuation incomplete. In normal conditions, this might seem like a minor glitch, but in a mid-cabin fire with thick smoke and panicked passengers rushing to the center, that door could be the only viable escape. And if it jams, dozens could be trapped. Worse still, the locking mechanism was supplied by an Italian subcontractor previously investigated in 2019 for producing misaligned ball bearings, a defect linked to similar failures on Boeing's 777s. Internal documents show Boeing was aware of synchronization issues between the electric and mechanical systems, yet no technical update was ever issued to airlines. These doors remained approved, aircraft were delivered, and to this day those same doors are still flying. When exit doors jam, passengers naturally follow the lights, but Boeing's 787 emergency lighting system tells a more disturbing story. During a late 2024 training flight, the crew observed that LED emergency lights did not illuminate in sync. The forward cabin lit up 2 to 3 seconds early. The center flickered unevenly. The rear cabin remained dark for the first 7 seconds. The system is programmed to activate automatically during power loss, helping passengers orient themselves in darkness or smoke. But when lighting fails to synchronize, panic spreads. In a simulated evacuation, 15 participants ran the wrong way due to unlit sections. The results were clear: increased risk of trampling, chaos, and loss of control. The issue wasn't brightness, it was signal delay between independent light controllers in each cabin zone. An engineer admitted, "We have no idea why this wasn't synchronized at the factory." To date, Boeing has issued no technical response and no software patch, no workaround. The issue remains classified as no impact on flight performance. While flickering lights might disorient passengers, the cockpit was dealing with something far more serious: cold. Not a thermostat error, not a configuration mistake, a genuine mechanical failure. On at least 2 KM flights, cockpit temperatures dropped below 10 degrees Celsius as 50 degrees Fahrenheit at cruising altitude. The chill didn't come from outside, it originated from a high-pressure air leak just behind the cockpit wall, where the air conditioning and pressurization systems intersect. The leak occurred in sync with the pressurization cycle, subtle, but enough to freeze the control panel, fog the displays, and leave pilots' hands numb. They could still fly the plane, but no one knew how long they had been flying with delayed reflexes. Maintenance records show that some 787s had undergone adjustments for faulty rubber seals, but KLM's fleet received no such updates. And despite substandard temperatures, no system alerts were ever triggered. One flight crew summarized it chillingly in their report: "We didn't fall asleep. We just couldn't hold the control, sir. Hands were too cold." What started as isolated anomalies now formed a disturbing pattern: repeatable, location, specific, and consistent across multiple aircraft. And all signs pointed back to one place: the factory floor where the 787 Dreamliner was born. This time, the error didn't come from the factory. It happened right at the airport inside the maintenance hangar at the hands of certified engineers. During a routine inspection in early May, KLM's technical team made a startling discovery. 7 Boeing 787s had been maintained using the technical manual for the 777. No one noticed. From fuel valve removal to pressure calibration, every procedure had been executed using specs meant for an entirely different aircraft. Torque settings were wrong. Critical inspection steps were skipped. Most alarming of all, the fuel pressure regulator high-risk component had been installed per 777 design, not 787. For 2 weeks, pilots repeatedly reported the smell of something burning inside the cockpit. No alerts lit up the dashboard. How did no one at Boeing realize a 787 was being serviced with 777 documentation? How were components misassembled from the very foundation? The truth? These aircraft kept flying until they no longer could. Because of carelessness from the very people who built them. On May 14th, Schiphol Airport descended into unprecedented chaos. That morning, KLM abruptly grounded its entire fleet of Boeing 787s for emergency inspection after a string of serious technical findings. No warning, no announcement, no explanation. Over 650 passengers in the international departure hall were left stunned. Flights delayed indefinitely. No loudspeaker alerts, no app notifications, no staff in sight. On the departure board, flights to New York, Shanghai, and Mexico City simply disappeared, no reason given, no replacements in place. Some passengers sat on the floor, some broke down in tears. Others frantically made calls, searching for answers, but the help desks were empty, no one had answers. A few travelers tried to reach the restricted Western maintenance zone where the grounded 787s were reportedly parked. Security blocked them. Gates were sealed. Journalists from 2 Dutch television stations were denied entry. When pressed for a statement, KLM issued just one line: an internal technical issue. Flight safety remains unaffected. But everyone knew this wasn't just about KLM. Every aircraft being stripped down in that hangar had the same origin, the same factory, the same manufacturer that once called the 787 Dreamliner the future of modern aviation. Over a decade since its dazzling debut, the Boeing 787 is now showing cracks not just in its carbon fiber shell, but in the entire system that designed, built, and certified it. From fuel leaks, misaligned turbines, disabled fire sensors, jammed emergency exits, flickering indicator lights to inexplicably cold cockpits, these aren't isolated failures anymore. When the same model repeats the same problems across different airlines in different countries for years on end, the question is no longer, is this plane safe? But who signed off on letting it fly in the first place? And as passengers continue to board, fastening their seatbelts, as pilots put on their headsets, as ground staff counts down to takeoff, somewhere out there, a 787 Dreamliner still takes flight, carrying flaws its maker never truly paused to examine. But perhaps the most terrifying flaw isn't something visible to the naked eye. It lies deep beneath the surface inside the very skin of the aircraft. The Boeing 787's fuselage is made from advanced carbon fiber composite, lightweight corrosion-resistant material hailed as revolutionary in aerospace engineering. But this miracle material comes with a deadly catch. When it fails, you can't see it. Hairline fractures don't show up on visual inspection. Surface scans can't always detect what's buried deep inside. During an intensive ultrasonic inspection, KLM's maintenance team uncovered microfractures at the critical junction where the fuselage meets the wings. The cracks were tiny, mere millimeters wide, but they sat inside the aircraft's primary load-bearing adhesive. A few more millimeters and the structural integrity of the entire airframe could begin to collapse. And Boeing knew this risk long before KLM's discovery. Internal documents reveal that 2 suppliers owned based in Italy, the other in Japan, had already been flagged in 2021 as high risk due to quality concerns related to composite manufacturing. But under pressure to meet delivery deadlines, Boeing continued accepting and using the materials. The company didn't deny the issue. They simply delayed the fix. More disturbing than the failures themselves is the company's response to them. They knew, they waited, and they stayed quiet. I discovered gaps beyond allowable limits that 98.7% of the time, were never properly shimmed. Let me repeat that. 98.7% of structural gaps should have been filled and weren't. Internal Boeing engineer. When the smoke detectors started issuing false alerts in 2020, Boeing didn't initiate a recall. They released an internal memo that essentially said, "No need to replace, just monitor." No fixes, no public disclosure, no warning to passengers. The same pattern played out with the infamous Trent 1000 engine flaw. Airlines reported cracking turbines multiple times, yet Boeing kept delivering planes so long as no catastrophic failure had occurred. One whistleblower revealed that certain defect reports were consolidated and reclassified to avoid triggering mandatory advisories. Some of the issues were bundled together deliberately, so Boeing wouldn't have to issue formal safety alerts. Boeing Insider. There was no rush to correct the problem, no transparency. Just a calculated silencier corporate decision to defer responsibility until things got worse. And now, things are worse. And as the cabin door closes, the lights dim, and the engines roar to life, lifting us into the sky, every takeoff becomes a gambler no just on technology, but on the truths that were buried. Not because no one knew about the flaws, but because someone chose to ignore them. If you believe that safety should never be a roll of the dice, share this video. Because one day, you might find yourself boarding a 787